happened to it? Like, let's debrief it. What was good about your suggestion box? What was bad about it? Well, the good part was they put him in all the departments. The bad part was nobody had a key to unlock them, so they were never opened.
Here we go again. Mark and Mike telling you what they think, even when they're not really thinking. Welcome to It Doesn't Take a Genius.
Ramsey!
Marshall, great to see you after, a little bit of an extended absence with us both interviewing different members of my family. But hey,
yeah. Yeah, this is our third Ramsey in a row, and only once for you. We've been Ramsey. We've been knee deep in Ramses.
We have, and it's interesting how incredibly popular both episodes were. Like, I really like my family members. I think my dad and my brother are awesome, great guys. But those episodes took off, so hopefully we have some new listeners, and we'd like to welcome you, both of you, to our podcast.
Oh yeah. Who knew that? Yeah, you weren't the most popular Ramsey.
Oh, I knew that. Trust me, I knew that.
Oh, okay, all right.
But to make up for it, Mike, I brought a little show and tell today.
Oh, excellent, excellent. What do we got?
This is an antique from my past. I wanted to share it with you. I'll try to put it to where you can see it on the screen.
Oh,
this
yes.
You recognize this?
Speedy rewards from the Speedy gas station.
From the Speedway gas station. That's exactly right. This is my membership card. I'm a member.
Oh.
Just wanted to share that with you. And
I'm so glad you took my call since you're in the club.
It's been a good run, but I will tell you, like, I got this 500 years ago, so long ago that it actually has different brands on the back than what the company still uses, I think. But I got this, and I got a number of points per gallon or something like that, and turned it into gift cards after a while. You get enough points, and you get a gift card back, and that was kind of cool. And then everybody had a loyalty card, right? Like you had loyalty points from every single brand of gas that you could possibly get. And I started noticing that Speedway wasn't like that great. It's like the bathrooms were really disgusting after a while. I don't know if like they were cutting corners or they had just had us all locked up, and so they weren't bothering with keeping the place looking fresh, but it was kind of nasty after a while, and then eventually I noticed that they started doing like special promotions where it was 5 cents off, 5 cents off extra per gallon. And sometimes that just really took it down to the price of everybody else. Like they were already there.
Nice.
But anyway, all that to say, they built a Buc-ee's near my house, and I haven't really been back. That's where I'm going with this.
Man, so they had a good thing going. They had you locked in. You were loyal, and it sounds like you might have even been an advocate.
My wife kind of made fun of me because I would try to wait till we came to a Speedway gas station. I was like, well, we got to earn our points. Come on.
Woo. Yeah, I'm home.
But you know what I've never done? I've never woken up in the middle of the night and hit my wife and said, baby, tomorrow's fill-up day. I hope I have to poop. I've never done that in my entire life, right? I've never gotten excited about going to Speedway and having the experience, right? Guess what people do at Buc-ee's literally every day by the hundreds?
Oh, man.
Have you been yet? Have you had the experience?
I went into, I went into one of the original ones in Texas.
Yeah.
So, where I'd never heard of it before. So the whole experience was, I had no preconceived notions. So it may have been more awe-inspiring, because I saw it, it was Texas. I could see it for about 50 miles away.
Right.
I thought it was a football stadium. Okay, because all I could see was these glowing, insanely bright white lights. And I thought, there must be like a football stadium or some sort of, it's Friday Night Lights kind of thing going on here in Texas.
Yep.
And then as I got closer, I was going towards the light and this glowing, thing, and it just lit up, acres and
Yeah,
acres around it, and,
yeah.
yeah, and I'd never heard of it. I didn't know, and yeah, so I was just, just sucked into the whole experience, which was awesome.
Yeah, and for those who haven't experienced it, I mean, it's, literally their inventory is insane. I mean, they just have, I don't know how many flavors of beef jerky and how many different kinds of fudge and different meats and all the typical things you'd find at a, small grocery store or really big convenience store, depending on how you look at it. And then a merchandise section. And a lot of the merchandise has Buc-ee's logos on it. I mean, people are
Oh,
literally saying, please let me buy something so I can go advertise for you. And they're saying it on a regular. I have Buc-ee's swim trunks. I'll just go ahead and tell you. Like, that's how far this has gone. But here's the thing: cheap gas, yes, cheaper than Costco, by the way. I did a price check just yesterday. And not just cheap gas, impeccably clean bathrooms.
oh yeah, yeah.
So
It's one
much
of their.
so they have a sign on I-75. For a while, they had a poster or a billboard that said, "You've got to pee it to believe it." That's where we're at. That's the life we're living. So whatever a cool thing Speedway had going, Bucky's has blown it out of the water on several different fronts, right? And I don't think that was just overnight. I think they built that over time. And it kind of leads to a topic you brought to us today, that is a pretty amazing thought from Seth Godin. So I don't know if that. Hopefully, I didn't take you totally off the rails, but I told you I had a visual aid for today's exercise. So,
Oh yeah, no, no. The idea that it sounds like, Speedway at one point was trying to continually get better.
yep,
And at some point, as we see in organizations that we work with, they believed they had arrived.
yeah, yeah,
And then it appears that short term thinking
yep,
took over. And so, short term, profit goals, short term, pressures to meet some sort of internal, metric that caused them to start taking away things.
yeah,
And then ultimately, they lost everything.
yep,
It's all gone, right? The
yep,
customers are gone. So, um, we've talked about, we work with a lot of auto dealerships. We've talked about kaizen, the idea of continuous improvement. And we love Seth Godin, wonderful author, writes a daily blog post. He hasn't missed a daily blog post in over a decade, 365 days a year.
I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yeah, every single day. And sometimes it's just a sentence or two.
Hmm.
But he always gets you to think a little differently about something that you already had thought about. And so, and we've run into this, right? You start to run into this, because everywhere we go, we're always trying to figure out, okay, how can we be more, do more, and be better?
Yep,
And Seth says, in his post, he says, in most competitive markets, when an organization offers a new benefit, others will quickly move to match it. What he doesn't say is when others take away a benefit,
mm.
others will quickly move to match it.
Yeah, yeah,
Somebody figured out if you made the bottom of the peanut butter jar concave inward, you could put 3 ounces less of peanut butter per jar, and the jar is the same size. And then all the other peanut butter guys went, who?
hey,
So, so it was an improvement for them, but not the consumer.
yeah, yeah,
But the point is, he says this, right? He says, that means if they're going to if they're going to match it, it's hard to justify the hard work of creating something better because it's just going to become the new standard.
right,
Right? It doesn't pay for me to innovate. Right? I came up with a new thing. Right? I'm doing this new thing because competitors will see it, and at some point they will copy it if it's a worthwhile idea. And so, um, with that thought in mind, right, it's very defeatist.
Yeah.
Well, what, we could try this new advertising vendor, but then everybody's going to start doing it, and then yeah, we'll all be in the same boat as we are now. We could
Right.
try this new product offering, bring add this to our but now everybody else will start doing it, and so now I'm depressed. Right? It's like,
Right.
this is sad. So it mirrors a lot of what Simon Sinek said about the finite versus infinite game.
Mm-hmm.
And so this type of thinking of why try because everybody else is just going to do the same thing is a finite mindset,
Mm-hmm.
right? Versus the infinite mindset of if we just continually get better, then people will never truly catch us. They may
Right.
be playing catch up, but they will never catch us.
Yeah.
And so everybody can match our one time fix, our one time benefit, our one time offering. Um, but nobody, very few companies, as we've seen in the world, are good at continually improving.
Yeah.
And that becomes a culture thing. And do I have a culture of continuous improvement, or do I wait till the pain gets big enough, change something, rest on that for a while, let the pain get big enough, change something, and then rest on that a while, repeat, repeat, repeat.
Yeah. Yeah. My coach has told me resting is rusting. And and that's sort of what we're talking about here. You brought up Simon Sinek. We could talk about James Clear and Atomic Habits at a personal individual level. Getting 1% better every day leads to you're 37 times better by the end of the year. Um, and does that mean you're done? No, because that would be a finite goal, right? That would mean my goal is to get 37 times better by the end of the year. But what about the next year and the year after and the year after? You want to keep growing, keep moving, keep doing things. So, so that's sort of today's episode is really to talk about that kaizen cultural mindset for you and for your organization. That really should be the backdrop for a lot of things that we're going to talk about in some future episodes about vision, about plans, about habits. I like to say the why, the how, and the what. But we got to start with Kaizen. We have to start with this improvement always mindset. So that's what we're here to do today.
Oh yeah. Well, and Seth talks about it, and you hear other companies talk about it, right? This startup mindset.
Yep.
When the legendary story of when Apple was developing the Mac,
Yep.
right? They took some guys and sequestered them in a separate building. They called them pirates,
Yep.
and they took away right the everyday stuff and said innovate.
Yeah.
Right, get back to who we were when we were a startup, and we were willing to try anything and everything to
Yep.
see what would work.
Yep.
And failure was not viewed as a setback. It was just viewed as, okay, that doesn't work. we we now know one more thing that's off our list. We can focus on something else.
Right. And we have to get that up front because I've gone into organizations, and I'm sure you have too, where somebody will say, I need you to put together a Kaizen team. I want you to put together some employees to do continuous improvement. And I want them to implement a loyalty card idea I have. See, that's not a continuous improvement, right? That's let's use this team to accomplish an agenda that I've come up with. But if you do that, you've actually violated about 3 levels deep of the whole concept of innovation, that we would be open and learning and trying things out and experimenting and failing. That would be part of the process. Uh, Apple, that's what they did, right? That there wasn't like, I've got this all figured out. I need you guys to execute, be my pirates. It was, let's be pirates. Let's innovate and figure out together what would put a dent in the universe, as they said. So how do you do that, right? So I don't know where do you want to go next on this, Mike?
Well, let's talk about we've kind of talked about the reason people don't do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just to enumerate, right, the fear that whatever new thing we do is just going to get copied. You're starting a race to the bottom,
Yeah.
We do this, right? We shave some cost, we get better at this. Everybody else is gonna do the same
We
thing.
stopped cleaning the bathroom.
Yeah, we stopped cleaning the bathroom. We laid
I'm
some
not
people.
bitter. I'm not bitter.
Yeah, I'm glad you're not, still dwelling on that. But yeah, we'll lay off people to make our quarterly numbers, things like that. Um, the idea that the gimmick, the one time thing, is gonna be the end all be all fix.
The 5 cents off promotion, that'll get us back on track.
Yeah, we'll just do a mailing campaign. We'll
Yeah.
just do right. We're gonna fix it all, all at once with one, short term burst, and you'll get the little bump, but it's not sustainable. And as we said at the very first of this, somebody else can start copying it. So the idea, right? We got to get better at being better. And if you want to know, uh, what type of culture you have, you can start listening for things. What happens to the person who sticks their head up
Yep.
with a new idea?
Yep.
Is it some sort of corporate or organizational whack-a-mole?
Right. Right.
Hey guys, I was thinking, right? Beat him, get him. The phrase, we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
Or we've never done it that way.
Yeah.
And not the hopeful, we've never done it that way.
We've never done it that
We've
way.
never done it that way. Right. That means I'm open to it versus we've never done it that way. I'm shutting your idea down before it even gets its shoes on and starts to walk. We can't have this, this idea out there. And so if you're seeing that, right, if you're seeing that in your organization, then you've got a finite short-term mindset around when it comes to improvement.
Yeah.
And you're probably repeating our pattern of it. The pain has to get so intense where we're at that it's worse than the pain of going somewhere else and trying something new.
Yeah.
And by then, how many customers have we lost? How much profit have we lost? How much innovation have we lost? How much ground to our competitors have we lost?
Yeah.
Right. If we're waiting for this peak and trough moment. So thinking about this, all right. So what might this look like in a healthy continuous improvement culture? And Seth gives us a few things here. And what's fun is we do all of these.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe that's why I gravitated towards this post. I was like, oh, this affirms everything we've been working on for the last 25 years. I agree.
Yeah, I what it made me think of was, sort of one of these classic texts about organization development. Peter Singe's The Fifth Discipline, and he talks about these 5 disciplines that a truly thriving organization has to have, and the fifth discipline, kind of the magic discipline, is this idea of systems thinking, that you're always thinking about everything you're doing is a system, and your systems are within systems, and so nothing you do is not interconnected with everything else in the organization. But 2 of the other disciplines are very much related to all of these habits we're about to discuss. Personal mastery, right? Like, I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to keep sharpening my saw, to use Covey's phrase, and keep figuring out how to grow and be open to learning. And then the other is team learning. The whole organization is together going to say, oh, let's double click on that. We just figured something out. We just had a failure. There's something here that we should take and learn from. Those are continuous improvement mindset philosophies. They're disciplines, right? As Singe calls them, they're disciplines. And so it's part and parcel with what we have Seth Godin here telling us to do in terms of habits. It's really pretty much part and parcel to the same thing.
Oh yeah. And the idea that there's nothing new under the sun. It's just been repackaged differently.
100%.
Right.
100%.
So like in this case, and he talks about this, right? The idea of relentless curiosity.
Yep.
And we're fortunate, the people who hire us tend to be of this mindset.
Yeah.
The people who hire us are often like, hey, have you read? Right. Yep. And then they name, some really cool business book, self-help book, something like that. This is really, open my eyes to whatever. And so they're continually, like you said, continually self-improving
Right.
and role modeling for their people that this is what we should be doing. So, do we ask, what happened? How did it happen? Do we go to conferences? So many of the people we work with, they go to meetings with their peers
That's right.
and they have the big idea contest, right? Everybody
Mhm.
brings an idea. We're going to try and learn from each other, and we're going to hold each other accountable. And there's conferences, for different aspects of the business. And so, they are regular participants in those conferences and taking advantages of what's available online and those types of things.
All right, so relentless curiosity is really the first idea that we're going to be open to gathering as much learning as we can from whatever source we can, other people, peers, other events, books, whatever it is. Uh, and then there's another idea suggested here, which we're calling regular retros. Can you want to explain that?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense when I read the title, but then as you read it, you go, "Oh, an after-action debrief." Yeah.
Aha.
So the military does this, right? You look at the Blue Angels. They'll fly a 2 hour show and then they'll do a 4 hour after-action debrief,
Yeah.
right? What went well? What would we do differently next time? How do we make this better? And so my daughter, she'd gotten a new job, and they, first huge project. This was kind of an unusual, kind of a new thing, big project, and she still wasn't sure who she was working for. Right? She still didn't have a read on the culture. And I said, all right, here's your test. You had this big, huge thing, and the test is after it's over, do they have a meeting where they sit down and go, all right, what worked and how would we do it better the next time?
Yeah.
I said, if they do that, you've got a continuous learning culture. If they don't, well, it's just going to be firefighting.
Yep.
So,
React, react, react for the rest
yeah,
of the time there.
yeah, wonderfully said. Yeah, the reactive firefighting type culture that they have. And
So
so that was the thought process on how do we read what we've got.
well, and I love the idea that it's an after action debrief. And by the way, you can do that on yourself. If you don't happen to be in a culture that honors it, like possibly your daughter was there. But an example that would be familiar to our audience members is respect-based performance coaching, the Mike Marshall patented system that basically just has you do a set number of habits in going about coaching your people. So we have a number of our listeners who are interested in being managers who use a coach approach. They're using RPC, using respect-based performance coaching. After they're done with the respect-based performance coaching, which is basically asking what's working, what's not working, what do we want to do differently, you could RPC yourself. You could say, I just had a coaching session. What were my bright spots there on how I coached? What are my opportunities to do something specifically different next time? And what would I do to make those changes? You can literally program yourself to have a debrief on everything that you do, including your coaching. So this works even for the individual.
Oh yeah, yeah. Taking that moment to say, all right, what did I learn from this?
Right, right.
And internalizing that so that the next time I'm going to be even better.
Now, so the next one on the list here is again another learning opportunity, but this time it's doing it in places that you wouldn't expect within the organization. Cross pollination. You want to talk
Ooh.
about that?
We used to, whether it's there's every organization is built into departments, and there's tends to be a lot of silos in those departments. Sometimes they don't interact with each other.
Yep.
Sometimes they're not familiar with the trials and tribulations of the other department. And
Yeah.
so cross pollination, and we've seen this happen so many times,
Mhm.
where we get somebody, right, where we're trying to figure something out, and then we get somebody who's only ancillarily related to what we're doing. And
Right.
sometimes even they have no idea what we're doing, and we have them take a look at it and go, here's what we're trying to do. Take a look at it, and they go, ah, there's your problem right there. Ain't got no gas in it. And everybody goes, wow, we never saw that, right? The
No.
forest for the trees kind of idea,
Yep.
that we are so into this and we've got so much baggage and history of previous ways that systems that we can't see. Well, that's go, there's a completely different way we could be looking at that. And we've done that with continuous improvement teams,
Mm-hmm.
where we always suggest that they're cross functional. We want people, a representative from each department, and at one point we may be solving something to do with sales or marketing, right? But the people from production, and service and things like that are in that meeting,
Yep.
bringing us a whole different perspective. And I think the key to that is the perspective is welcomed, uh, right? You don't go, well, you're not from our department. I'm sure you have no idea how this could be better. It's like, no, that's exactly how they know it could be better.
Well, that'll happen in my clients. There's a temptation when somebody's brought in from the outside. I'm now in the insurance game, but I used to sell cars. Insurance is different. You're just gonna have to get used to that. Wait a minute. Stop for a minute. What can we learn from his outside perspective, and what can he tell us about how we're different that we could, uh, uh, help him see things in a new way too. Cross pollination goes both ways, but only if you're open to it. Only if it's something that you're willing to embrace.
Oh yeah, yeah. Anytime I've got a new person in any business that I'm working in, I always ask them. I try to get them before the 3 month mark,
Yeah.
right? And I tell them, I said, at some point you will be assimilated into the board collective,
Yep.
and everything you're doing will just seem normal. But that first time you see it, or the first few times you see it, I need you to tell me, when you muttered inside your head, why do they do it like this?
That's a
Right?
great
What
question.
what is going on here? I said, I need to know every incident where
Yeah.
you have muttered that since you were onboarded.
That's a great idea. Love that.
And they'll tell you there. And then I'll ask, has any of your managers asked you that
Right.
question?
Right.
Right? Are your managers saying, all right, you're new to this. What are you seeing that we could be doing more, better, different, or less?
Yep.
Right? What are you seeing that doesn't make any sense to you?
Yep.
And because after about 3 months, they
It's
don't see it
gone.
anymore. They're
Yep.
just part of the they're
Yep.
part
It's
of the
their new
machine.
whirlwind. They're
Yeah.
part of the whirlwind. Yeah.
And so yeah, if you can get them early, yeah, you can get those ideas. You can get that stuff.
And again, let's go back to our previous idea. After a cross-pollination event, whether it's that first 3 months window of a new hire, or it's a team that's been brought together cross-functionally, or it's like you and I do with some of our clients where we bring in people from different departments for the same training sessions. Um, Debrief it. Take that opportunity to actually double click on what just happened and see what the learning is. So
Oh
um, yeah. So the next one, risk as a badge of honor. I love this one.
man. So the idea that if I'm trying a bunch of stuff, a lot of it's not going to work. That's why we love, right, when we talk about disc, right, the DIs, the IDs of the world, in the
Yep.
8 dimensions of disc, we call it, they're labeled as pioneers,
Yeah.
and they embody the Winston Churchill quote of, you can have all the success in the world if you can go from one disappointment to the next with no loss of enthusiasm.
Right.
So we know a whole bunch of it isn't going to work, and if you don't have failures, you're just not trying enough stuff.
Right.
And so now the question becomes, how do we treat that failure in our culture?
Yeah.
Right. Last time Bob tried something, it failed. So, we'll not listen to him for the next 7 years. His ideas are now invalid for eternity, because he had that thing and, it cost us $8, and, it's still sitting back there.
Well, and even just the idea that he's labeled by his outcome, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because if we're really wanting a culture, what we're talking about there is this is how we do things around here. How we do things around here is we take risks. We are expected to experiment. Failure is going to happen. That's not the outcome that we're looking for, but what are the activities that get us to the likely outcome that we want of where we innovate and take off? So,
Mm-hmm.
in other words, the badge of honor needs to be that I'm going to reward you, recognize you, celebrate you if you do these activities, these behaviors that are risk taking. It's not the outcome that I care so much about. It's the fact that you were willing to try something different, to try, to try to learn, etc. So you have to rewire your brain if all you're thinking about is the numbers on the board or the outcome at the end of the experiment. It's the experiment. That's what actually matters is the activity.
Oh yeah. Well, and the idea that there's a difference between recognition and appreciation. Right.
Yeah.
I recognize you for what you did. So you came up with a new idea. It made us a bunch of money. You're going to get idea of the year, employee of the month, whatever. Right. We're going to recognize that. I appreciate people for who they are
Yeah.
and their mindset. So appreciation is for those folks who failed while trying valiantly
Yeah.
to do something that would help us.
Yep.
And we can appreciate their persistence, their tenacity, their follow through, right? Their commitment to try new things. I can appreciate all these attributes of
Yep.
this person. So it's not insincere, right? And
No.
when it works, I recognize it. When it doesn't, I appreciate the attempt.
That's right. That's exactly it. One more here. Open channels for ideas. Talk about that.
So yeah, what is it? Do we have formal systems?
Hmm.
And it's always interesting. Every continuous improvement team we've ever launched has said, let's put up a suggestion box.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, right, that's a new idea, or is it? And they'll all go, no, we had one a few years ago. Well, what happened to it? Like, let's debrief it. What was good about your suggestion box? What was bad about it? Well, the good part was they put them in all the departments. The bad part was nobody had a key to unlock them, so they were never opened.
I've not
Actually
heard
had
that
that.
one.
Yeah, actually had that one. You've had that one. Yeah. Yeah. At some point, a couple of years later, we tore the bottoms out of them just to get the notes, and there was ideas in there. So the idea of you got to make it work for you, and we figured this out, right? You've got to close the loop. So
Right.
open the channels, right? Whether it's a Slack page or a Basecamp thing or just an email chain or whatever. Maybe it's a whiteboard that says, put your ideas here, and it's in all the rooms, and there's markers, post-it notes that we stick up, suggestion. It doesn't matter. All of these things, right? Figure out which one works for you, knowing that the only way it works is if you close the feedback loop.
Which, by the way, is the badge of honor, right?
Yes.
Like that's me coming back to you saying thank you for this awesome idea. This is it's not going to work, or like maybe there's something you have to say to say we're not going to do this idea, but you still are like, yes, keep bringing these ideas to me. You're mining for these ideas, as a matter of fact,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. The
You might
gold nugget.
the
Yeah,
channel might be like I got a little notepad in my pocket, right? And I'm the CEO and I walk around. I think Harley Davidson did this right back in the day. Hey, what would you do if you were CEO? Let me write down your ideas and just capturing as much as they could. But anyway, I interrupted your flow there because it is about closing that loop, whatever that feedback is you get.
Oh yeah. Well, now you said mining for ideas, and that's the idea of mining. Yeah, you're going to get some gravel,
Right.
right? But if you don't keep picking up the gravel, you'll never get the gold nugget,
Right.
right? And you're going to have to go through some gravel, and then there's this gold nugget. The
Yep.
gold nugget is worth the other, the sifting process.
100%.
Yeah, I had a store, and they just took everything out of the suggestion box, and they just typed it up as a list and sent it out as an email to everybody. People were so impressed.
Huh.
They read it,
Yeah.
and they typed it up. My
That's a
idea,
step we've never seen before.
my idea is still alive, right? It just gave everybody a glimmer of hope, and so. Yeah, and so then you circle back, and no is an acceptable answer, right? The biggest
Right.
pushback we get back on this is, well, this is the tail wagging the dog. The employees are going to be telling us what to do, and
Yeah.
it's like, no, you still have last right of refusal. You can
Yeah.
say no, right? But you have to circle back and tell them we're not going to do your idea right now. Here's a couple of reasons why.
Yep.
But we love the thought process. We appreciate you offering these things up.
Yep.
So keep them coming.
That's exactly it. I think this is, it's bigger than people realize. I think they forget that other people don't know what they know. And so what seems like so logical to the executive, like, well, no, of course we're not going to add an extra week of vacation for XYZ. Maybe it's not that clear. If you're on the ground floor, maybe you don't get to see like, ooh, if you count the beans like that, what you just suggested will not work. But what you're trying to get at is something we want, so let's keep working on that. That's all they need, right? That's all that the folks on the front lines need to be able to go back and say, okay, well, let's innovate that again. Let's iterate, right? That would be continuous improvement, right? Is iterating it up to something better. Well, so should we talk about? We've got some sort of suggestions here on how you could start implementing this. Should we talk about this and can I set it up by saying why, how, and what again?
No,
Do you
no, let's leave it as a cliffhanger.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. So first thing we want you to do is go around and look for these things. Are they happening or not happening? Right. Is there relentless curiosity? Are you having regular debriefs? Or is there cross-pollination of ideas? Do you celebrate the risk takers? And do you have open channels for continually, gathering new ideas? Go look for those things in your organization. If you have them, celebrate the heck out of your where you live, where you work, and then see, can we make them, can we even build upon that? If you don't have them, tune in next week where we'll walk you through the process of systematically, doing things, implementing things, doing activities that would help you make this a reality in your particular organization.
Thank you for improving what I was going to suggest we do to wrap this up. I think that's a much better idea.
My pleasure. And thank you for adding the part we're going to do next to my original idea.
That's right. We're just a love fest over here, man.
Oh yeah. The Mutual Admiration Society right there.
All right.
Good stuff. And speaking of continuous improvement, he never lets us down. He's always there for us. He's like the postman, rain or sleet or hail or gloom of night, keeps him from basically harassing us on talking, making fun of us. So we're going to turn it over to our announcer, Mr. Wolf.
And that's a wrap. The musings of Mark and Mike. No rights reserved, etc. Feel free to share and discuss what you heard today. Even claim the ideas as your own. Who'd want to do that? See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius. Thanks.
That's good enough.